Last week, I told you about the multi-billion-dollar arms deal that the Trump administration signed with Saudi Arabia. Of course, Saudi Arabia, one of the biggest sources of terrorism around the world over the last who knows how many years, a totally oppressive and violent regime, and yet, still, we continue to do big arms deals with Saudi Arabia. So Trump gets back from his trip in Saudi Arabia. A press conference is arranged to talk about the trip. An acting assistant secretary for Near East Affairs, Stuart Jones, was tasked with answering questions from journalists about the trip. The last question was asked by Dave Clark. Dave Clark is a reporter with the Agence France Presse. He created one of the most awkward, cringeworthy moments of press conferences under the Trump administration, and that says a lot because there have been no shortage of those. I mean, Sean Spicer is press secretary after all. Let me first read to you the question that was asked by Dave Clark, and I hope you're prepared for this because this is going to get really bad. So the question from Dave Clark was, quote, "While you were over there, the secretary criticized the conduct of the Iranian elections and Iran's record on democracy. He did so standing next to Saudi officials. How do you characterize Saudi Arabia's commitment to democracy? And does the administration believe that democracy is a buffer or barrier against extremism?" Brilliant question, right? How can you criticize Iran's democratic process while you're standing next to and Trump dancing with people from Saudi Arabia, diplomats from Saudi Arabia? It doesn't really make sense. This froze Stuart Jones for nearly 20 seconds. It's going to feel like 5 minutes because it's so cringeworthy. It's only 20 seconds. And then he gives just an insane non-answer. This is one, I mean, this was like a robot malfunction. It reminds me of when Marco Rubio repeated the same thing 4 times during one of those Republican primary debates. It seemed like Stuart Jones malfunctioned here. Take a look and listen at this.
Well, you were over there. The secretary criticised the conduct of the Iranian elections and Iran's record on democracy. He did so standing next to Saudi officials. How do you characterise Saudi Arabia's commitment to democracy? And does the administration believe that democracy is a buffer or barrier or against extremism?
Uh,
Go on.
I think what we'd say is that at this meeting, we were able to make significant progress with Saudi and GCC partners in both making a strong statement against extremism and also putting in place certain measures through this GCC mechanism where we can combat extremism. Clearly, one source of extremism, one terrorism threat is coming from Iran. And that's coming from a part of the Iranian apparatus that is not at all responsive to its electorate.
Yeah. Get him out of the room.
Thank you.
So that was it. That was the end of the press conference. I almost feel sort of bad for him because he's being asked to defend the indefensible. It's not Stuart Jones's fault that we have this indefensible, depraved friendship and alliance with Saudi Arabia. This has been indefensible by the U.S. for decades, right? This friendship with the Saudi government, an immoral friendship, a depraved friendship. Saudi Arabia is a hereditary Sunni monarchy and the global source of radical Islamic terrorism, and yet it is an ally of the United States. Iran is we can't call it a democratic republic because it's not, but it's ostensibly semi-democratic, which just held at least what we could consider elections, where there was a reform candidate that was seeking greater ties with the West, and it cleaned the clock of the conservative hardliner, but that is an enemy of the United States. I'm not saying that Iran shouldn't be an enemy of the United States. What I'm saying is the double standard and the hypocrisy with regard to the Saudi Arabian relationship is utterly indefensible. The question is actually unanswerable in a way that makes sense to humans with brains capable of logic. And clearly Stuart Jones wasn't able to get around that. Maybe we should be commending Jones for even being able to put together that non-answer, but just a total implosion. And again, these questions are not answerable because the policy does not make sense. And that became completely evident when Stuart Jones froze for 20 seconds before being able to muster irrational, haphazard talking points. I almost feel bad for the guy, but not really. Today's episode of The David Pakman Show is made possible in part by Warby Parker eyeglasses. Warby Parker recently did the right thing and ditched advertising on right-wing conspiracy website Breitbart, pulling their ads off. And you can get the free 5-day home try-on from Warby Parker. Check out their glasses. I use them when I'm not wearing contact lenses. I started with the free at-home trial. They send you 5 pairs of glasses. You see which ones you like, you send them back, and whichever one you pick, they will put your prescription into. I like this because I can actually show the glasses to other people and not have to just decide on the spot like in an eyeglass store. The eyeglass industry is controlled by very few corporations that keep the prices very, very high, even over $300 for prescription glasses. With Warby Parker, they start at just $95. Mine costs that, including lenses. And for every pair sold, they give a pair to someone in need. So to try the 5 pairs and support the David Pakman Show, go to warbyparkertrial.com/TDPS.